In case you don't know, the best wings in the entire city are at Civlik Bar and Grill, which is located at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. And if you're a Whirlwind Plus member, you get 15% off at Civlik. The next upcoming event for Whirlwind Plus members is a thank you dinner at the end of the month. The dinner is free, and becoming a Whirlwind Plus member is only $299 a year. Play golf about 4 times a year, and you'll make your money back. Go to whirlwindgolf.com. and feel the wind.
Thanks for listening, Unplugged Army. I'm Louis Unga, General Manager at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We're proud to present Doug Franz Unplugged.
Form an offense.
Form an offense.
4 minutes.
Form an offense. Form an offense.
Everything you need to know in sports that affects Maricopa County, the state of Arizona, and the world, you get in 4 minutes. We start things off in downtown Phoenix. Diamondbacks annihilate the San Francisco Giants 12-2. Zach Gallen, pretty good. 6 innings pitched, only 2 earned runs and 4 hits. The offense, incredible. 4 runs on 6 Robbie Ray pitches. Marte and Carroll got a base hit. Perdomo got on via an error. And then Arenado hit a no-out grand slam. Manager Torey Lovello.
It's clear that we were ready to play. I was really very satisfied with the approach, the situation in the bottom of the first inning, and the big grand slam by Arenado. Let us exhale in the dugout a little bit after a tough weekend series.
Up next, Diamondbacks take on the Giants game 2 of the series. Landon Root goes for San Francisco. He's 5-4 with a 3.49 ERA. Ryan Nelson, 1-3, 5.40 ERA. He'll throw the first pitch tonight, downtown, 6:40. The Rattlers played in a Meadowlands shopping mall and destroyed New Mexico 61-15. Drew Powell got the start at quarterback. He went 9 of 11 for 143 yards. Up next, Rattlers go for the first ever IFL Cup against Vegas, Sunday at the Meadowlands, 4:30. First day of phase 2 of OTAs when the players can actually get on the field. Head coach Mike LaFleur for the Cardinals said everything went well.
It's limited, but at least you're with the other 31 teams, right? So you know from that standpoint, it's all fair. It's like I just told the guys right at the end of the practice, man, football's fun. Doing the phase 2 work, great. Meetings, they've been awesome, all those kind of things, the training, but you train for days like today to get ready for days like training camp to get ready for that first Sunday.
And America's reporter, Teo Mackey, asked if he's been in contact with Jacoby Brissett, who's in a contract holdout, so he can learn the offense remotely.
We've had contact. I'll keep it at that.
There are 7 teams in the WNBA tied for 6th place with a 2-2 record. 2 of those 7, Toronto and the Phoenix Mercury, meet tonight, downtown, tip-off, 7 o'clock. The NHL had overtime. Buffalo, home against Montreal, down 2-0. They come back and tie it 2-2. And then Alex Newhook, who scored the winning goal in Game 7 for Montreal's first-round series, scores in overtime and wins this Game 7. Then it's Game 1, Western Conference Finals. Spurs a winner 122-115 in double overtime. Wemby had the chance to win it at the end of regulation, but Holmgren came over with a massive block. That sent it to OT, but then Wemby hit an enormous transition 3 to tie it up at the end of the first overtime. Then he won it in the second overtime. He finished with 41 points, 24 rebounds. Tonight it's Cleveland at New York, tip-off 5 o'clock. And in baseball yesterday, the Mets and Nationals were tied 5-5 going into extra innings. They both scored a run in the 11th, and then in the 12th, the Mets put up 10 runs to win the game 16-7. And then out west, JT Ginn of the A's in Anaheim against the Angels. A no-hitter through 8 innings, but the A's only scored 1 run. He goes out for the 9th inning. First batter, base hit. The no-hitter is blown. Next batter, Zach Neto goes yard, 2-run walk-off homer. Since Ginn didn't get an out in the 9th inning, he only pitched 8+ innings and gave up 2 hits, 2 runs, and he's the losing pitcher. And finally, if you've been wondering when is the end of the world and if the apocalypse is coming soon, I have a hint for you. It's actually coming within the next few hours, because for the first time in the history of the country of France, they actually drank more beer than wine. France! I mean, I guess I'm going to have to start respecting them. Je voudrais commander une bière. I can say a lot of other things in French, but Everything else I know would be considered inappropriate. My grandpa, on the other hand, he fought in the Battle of the Bulge. So if he met someone from France, he would say, "Sprechen Sie Deutsch?" When the person would be somewhat offended and said, "No," my grandpa would say, "You're welcome. God bless America."
Hey, Unplugged Army, this is General Mike. The thing I love about Bell's most is the staff. Every time I come here, they make sure I'm having a good time, and I always bring my daughter here, and she has dietary restrictions. They always find something with their fresh ingredients to make for her to hit the gluten-free, dairy-free menu items. So always enjoy it when I come here. Can't wait to come back.
Bell's Nashville Kitchen on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale.
You found home, down home.
Hey, Unplugged Army, this is Dom with Slice House by Tony Gemignani. Tony Gemignani is our founder, and he's a 13-time World Pizza Champion and the first American to go to Italy and win the World Pizza Championship in Italy. Come on in and introduce yourself next time you stop by. I'd love to meet you. I'm a business communication major from Arizona State. I would love to talk pizza with you or just talk about anything.
Slice House is in Gilbert at Pecos and Val Vista, near Santan Ford. Hey, respect the craft.
Oh, it's late. And it's not like the good kind of late where I got a nap. It's just late. It's 5:20 in the morning. But why did I try to watch hockey and NBA and the Diamondbacks and do Town Hall Tuesday? Oh my gosh. I'm a little behind. Good morning. Good afternoon, good evening. Whenever it is that you decided to make Doug Franz Unplugged a part of your day, my family greatly appreciates it. My name is Doug Franz, and you have found the only podcast in the world totally devoted to the coverage of the 4 major sports franchises of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning whenever I get it done. We also cover ASU, U of A, GCU, the Rattlers, the Rising, and the Merc. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. How are you? I'm good. Hard sell, if you don't mind. I don't normally start the show with a commercial, but hard sell for you to become a Whirlwind Plus member. They are the one of the biggest reasons why the podcast is still up and is still growing. And I just want to make sure that you always think about that if you're a golfer, no matter where you are in this city, no matter where you live, you're going to want to golf Whirlwind from time to time. And you only have to do it 4 times and you basically break even in a year for $300 a month, the savings that you get. And then if you actually add all together every prize that they give away and the dinners that they give away, it's so worth it. And if you would say, well, Doug, why did you start with that? Well, I have a college buddy that's coming to town next week and I want a mooching tea time. So that's why I did. I'm not going to lie to you. That's exactly why I did it. It is that important. I mean, there is no podcast if you don't believe me, but at the same time, yeah. I'm going to email Lou today and say, hey, how busy are you on Tuesday? And see what I can get my hands on. I got one story for you today, and I am sure when you hear this story, you're going to think I'm leaving out some of the details. I will not be leaving out any of the details. And if there's any way you can explain to me how this happened, I am interested in your knowledge. I think this is totally unexplainable and kind of spooky that this occurred. So I left a book at church in, when would that have been? It would have been at the end of April or at the end of March. So the last weekend of March, I like to read the readings. In the Catholic religion, some people read the readings, some people don't. Meaning they just listen to the person giving the readings in the gospel. And I like to read along because I don't want to trust the reader to get it right. Sometimes a reader misses words, changes the meaning of the whole sentence. Sometimes they stumble. Sometimes they crush it. But just in case, I like to read along. So I have a book of all of the readings called a Catholic Missal, and I read through those. Well, I left it there. So this is at the end of March, and General Mike lives a lot closer to my church than I do. So before we had Play Like a Pro, General Mike told me, hey, I don't mind swinging past church and picking up your missal for you. I go, that's a great idea. I'll call ahead and let them know. So I called ahead. Again, this is all at the end of March. I called ahead, let them know in a voicemail that General Mike was going to be doing this. And he took care of it. He picked it up. He gave it to me at Play Like a Pro on April 1st. I got the missile. End of story. Truly, end of story. There's nothing else. So yesterday, I am watching an old NBA game on the DVR and reading some articles. My phone rings, and it says potential spam. So I don't answer it. Then it actually has a voicemail message transcribed. And I thought, well, that's strange. If it was potential spam, I can't believe they actually left me a voicemail. So I read the voicemail and didn't believe it. It was a woman that says her name is Barbara from St. Thomas More, which is my church, and that she got my message that they have my missile, and please let me know. She wanted me to call and let her know what who Mike is and how he's going to be picking it up and when he's going to be picking up my missile. Now think about that for a second. I called at the end of March to let them know Mike was going to come pick it up, and he picked it up. And now I'm getting a call on May 18th to describe Mike or to let them know what time Mike will be there to get it. So what else do I do? But I wanted to call and let them know, well, that story's old now. Everything's fine. So I called. Woman answers the phone, and I asked for Barbara. She said, I'm sorry, Barbara's not working today. She'll be here Wednesday. Well, that's strange. I just got a call from Barbara, and she said, call back. She goes, oh, what was it in regards to? And I said, well, that's what's really strange about this. It was, I left my missile in a pew in March, and I called and left a message, and a friend was picking it up for me, and he did. He picked it up in March, and he's already given me my book. So, somehow Barbara is calling me about something that was taken care of, 6-7 weeks ago or whatever. And the woman says, well, Barbara didn't call, and there's 3 of us in the office, and none of the 3 of us have been on the phone. This is the first we're hearing of this. Now, come on. Like I said, I know you're thinking, wait a minute, there's something you're missing. No, I have told you everything. The story is from the end of March. All of that happened on the end of March as it relates to the missile and Mike and me calling the church. And yet my phone rang yesterday. A voicemail popped up yesterday from a woman that works there but isn't working there yesterday. And none of the women there made that phone call. No, that is so strange. Come on. My wife thinks that maybe Barbara wasn't working, but she made a call on one of those apps that you can call remotely through your work phone number, and realized that she hadn't returned the call or the message about my missile from way back when, and is just now doing it. But then I got to wonder, well, did Mike just walk in and say, hey, I want Doug's missile? What's it look like? It's brown. All right, well, here's the brown missile. Here you go. Well, they're all brown. I mean, I don't know. It's just the weirdest story ever that this woman called me yesterday about getting more information so that she can get me my book that I've already picked up, that's been picked up for me 6 weeks ago. There's a DeLorean involved in this thing somehow. I don't know how. Beyond a shadow of a doubt. I'm living at Lyon Estates. Somebody's driving a DeLorean with a flux capacitor and a Mr. Fusion attached on top. That's the end of my story. That's it. I'm really kind of weirded out by that whole thing a little bit, especially when I found out Barbara wasn't even working. All right, it's time for Doug's Big One. It's my number one opinion of the day, and it's been Biggie-sized by your local Wendy's. Have you had it yet? Come on, you're in the Unplugged Army. Have you had it yet? Have you had the new and improved Wendy's spicy chicken sandwich? It wins. When you are in the mood for fast food, you have one choice. Well, you really have two choices. Wendy's or bad. You choose. You either go to Wendy's or you go get something bad. I think that should be Wendy's new slogan. Wendy's, eat at our place or eat bad. It's time for. Oh, no, it's not time for. I'm already done. Told you it was late. I've checked out mentally. I just had a story for you and I'm going to bed. No. It's time for Doug's Big One. I've already said that. Uh-oh, this is going to be a bad show. Oh, no. The flame out has started and I just started the show. I'll just yell real loud. Let's roll. Doug.
Where's Doug? Here, sorry, Doug. Where are you at?
Yeah, was that a plug to unplug?
Thanks, Doug.
Doug had given me a stat.
With that, I am happy to take your questions. Let's start with Doug.
This is a great question, Doug.
Well, I can only answer the questions that get asked of me, Doug.
Obviously, Franz is such a good player.
Doug's Big One. I really appreciate the fact that James Jones got the Suns within 2 wins of their first championship. But I refuse to look at his tenure as a success as I'm watching that brilliance of basketball last night. San Antonio versus OKC. Number one, I like Mikal Bridges a lot, but if you didn't know the story, Ryan McDonough wanted Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And he got overruled by the owner who wanted Mikal Bridges. Says, we don't need guards, we need wings. And he wanted Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges fit that fun team like a glove. If you are new to Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass, you missed kind of year one. Year one, 2021 is when this podcast started. And it was a deep dive and a love fest with the Suns almost every show. I loved Monty Williams. I loved the way he held press conferences. I loved what he said. I loved the players. I loved the chemistry. I loved everything about that team. And all year long, I talked about a parade. So, like, if you hear Unplugged and think, man, Doug, you're always down on something. I'm down on things that I don't think are good enough. I was not down that whole time. I mean, that whole year, all I kept saying was, get a good lawn chair so you can have a good seat on the parade route. I was so confident that team was going to win a championship. James Jones deserves so much credit for that team. But you know what? You didn't win it. And the way you tried to build it has destroyed the franchise. And then on top of it with the whole Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and the mess of draft picks that you've lost. Look at OKC. Look at San Antonio. If you didn't watch it last night, those two teams, it's frightening how far ahead they are than the Suns. Now, we were already reminded of that just watching the first round series. I mean, OKC played the Suns. I don't know if you remember. Seems like it was 2 months ago. But they played the Suns and whooped us. And just watching them lose to San Antonio and the brilliance of that game, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't apologize, but he basically said it's his fault. He's got to play better. And it's why OKC lost. Lou Dort missed a bunch of threes as well. He's normally a little bit better shooter. Wemby was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. A 40-20 game for a player that young. And almost everybody on the floor is a draft pick. And I don't mean, well, of course they are, like other teams drafted them too, but almost everybody on that floor is a Spurs draft pick or a Thunder draft pick. They understood how to collect picks. They understood how to put money into the picks, meaning scouting, get the right players that fit, build around what you have, and have a great young coach that relates to the players. That's what they did. And, I think New York's a good team. I think Cleveland's a good team. As I sit here now, I don't see them winning a world championship this year. I look at the Western Conference Finals as the NBA Finals. Now, here's an important point. Speaking of Mikal Bridges, I remember Mikal Bridges doing an interview, and he said he thinks the Suns slacked off a little bit because all they ever heard was how great the Western Conference was, and they came out of the brutal Western Conference, and they're up 2-0 against the Bucks, and he says, I think we kind of relaxed a little bit because we just felt like, hey, it's all true. We're a better team from a better conference. And I don't think you can say that. I don't think you should just say that it's over. But I don't see the Knicks and Cavs playing at the level of a game that I saw last night. And I just stare down James Jones and I think you messed up big time. I appreciate the fun. I appreciate that team. You did draft Cam Johnson, but Ryan McDonough drafted Mikal Bridges, even though he'd rather have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Ryan McDonough drafted Devin Booker. Ryan McDonough drafted DeAndre Ayton, who in that year was playing phenomenal basketball. That was a really good team. And they didn't win it. And then you went for Kevin Durant and busted the draft and then said you didn't need draft picks because you weren't going to send your scouts to junior high games, you joked. Because the players that were going to be available in the draft in the years that you traded away picks at that time were in junior high. And I just think that's one of the most misguided things to ever say. Because you miss out on the exact talent we are seeing on the floor between OKC and San Antonio. That game last night was amazing. If you didn't see it, end of regulation. By the way, a double-double at halftime, 14 and 10 for Victor Wembanyama. Then at the end of regulation, Wembanyama's got it, tries to score, and gets his shot blocked by another rookie draft pick by OKC, Chet Holmgren. He's not a rookie now, but I mean, he was drafted as a Thunder. So he gets that block. That sends it to overtime. In the overtime, Wembanyama took a shot with 26 seconds left. What I have to tell you, I thought was a terrible shot. Spurs are down by 3, 26 seconds left, but it's in transition. Wembanyama's got the ball outside the arc on a 3-on-2. He can easily go pulverize them, get a quick 2, and then call timeout and try to get the inbound steal. Then you foul. They've got to make them both. If they don't, then you're down only by 1 or 2. And if they do make them both, you're still down by 3. And you still have about 15 seconds left to go get a 3. Instead, after a long rebound and pushing it up the floor very, very quickly in this 3-on-2, they kick it back to Victor Wembanyama. And he's literally next to the logo. I'm going to ballpark it as a 26-footer on that. Just stepped right into it. Sorry, KU fans. It was like Farouk Manesh. I mean, it was just amazing. A 7'5" man hitting a Steph Curry transition 3, down by 3, inside of 25 seconds to go in an overtime in the Western Conference Finals. And I just watched that. And in amazement, like you can't shoot that. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And people like me who judge, we say you can't shoot it because the chances are low that you're going to make it. You're going to make the layup And you never think of him just draining it like that. And then he took over the second overtime. Spurs get the win. It was amazing. And it was also frustrating to watch the brilliance of basketball between those two teams, because I kept thinking the whole time, it's going to be 5 years before the Suns can truly start drafting players again. And then they got to get those draft picks right. I'm not trying to depress you today, but gosh, that was good basketball last night. Really good basketball. And that's Doug's big one. I think a lot of times you know the sponsors of Doug Franz Unplugged, but then when something actually happens, are you thinking about, do you have Parker and Sons Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical, you're like right there on your phone? Things like that. Well, I don't know if you thought about it, but I guarantee you there has been a moment in the last 2 years where you have been somewhere on the east side eating lunch or meeting someone or doing something, and you needed an oil change at the same time. Did you think about the Santan Ford mobile unit? If not, I'm telling you right now, it is the best way to go. I've done it, I think 3 times now, maybe 4. Once at Trophy, once at Slice House. You know what? I think 3. Once at Trophy, once at Slice House, and once at 100 Mile Brewing Company. And man, is it so simple. You're enjoying a great lunch, and someone from Santan Ford's taking care of changing your oil, rotating your tires, simple maintenance, and they give you a rundown of what's going on with the car, the positives and the negatives. It is a no-brainer. Just go to santanford.com, click on mobile unit, and you can schedule today. Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. I kind of did this in the 4-minute offense. I'm just going to go rapid fire real quick on how incredible last night was. San Antonio wins 122-115. That game goes into double overtime. Wemby has 41 points, 24 boards. Yes, 24 boards. Sabres and Canadiens. Montreal scores 2 goals in the first, and they're up 2-0. And then Buffalo scores 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, and they tie it. And it's 2-2. And ESPN has this incredible stat. Only one team in the history of hockey has ever blown a multi-goal lead in a Game 6 and a Game 7 in the history of hockey. 1. And the point was, all it's going to take is 1 Buffalo goal in this overtime, and the Montreal Canadiens become the second team to ever do that. So they had to be gripping. Had to be gripping in a game that they had control of totally in the first period. And then the Sabres only scored 1 goal, but they dominated the second period. They still won the third period, but they dominated the second period and could not finish. Couldn't get that goal. That was tremendous hockey. It was tremendous hockey last night. And I loved ESPN's coverage because they kept flashing new stats all the time. And in the craziest of coincidences, Montreal is tied 1-1 in the third against Tampa in the previous round. And it's Game 7. And Alex Newhook scores in the third to give the Canadiens the lead, breaks the tie, and eventually is the game winner at the end of the third when Montreal advances to take on, Buffalo. Now, after it's a 2-0 lead for Montreal, they blow the 2-0 lead. So you're in Buffalo, New York, and you've blown a 2-0 lead in a Game 7. Somehow they hold it together, and Alex Newhook again scores in the overtime. Overtime is sudden death, game over, Canadiens win. So the same guy that knocked out the race, the same guy that knocked out the Lightning and won it for the Montreal Canadiens in the first round, does it again in the second round. Oh, we're not done. Then, not only do you have the overtime in hockey, the double overtime in basketball, but you get extra innings in the Mets-Washington game. This is just hilarious to me. 5-5 after the ninth inning. It's actually 5-3 at one point in the game, and the Nationals either scored one in the seventh and one in the eighth, or they scored one in the eighth and one in the ninth to tie it up. Then nobody scores in the 10th. Each team scores a run in the 11th. So it's 6-6 going into the 12th. And the Mets scored 10 runs in the top of the 12th. Washington's comeback only gives them one run, so the Mets win that one 12-7. Still not done. And then last night, JT Ginn, pitcher for the A's, goes 8 innings, no-hit baseball. He's got a no-hitter going against the Angels in L.A., in Anaheim. So when he goes up in the ninth inning, he gives up a base hit in the bottom of the ninth. So now you've blown the no-hitter. But that whole time your no-hitter's going on, the A's only scored one run. So it's 1-0 Athletics. Runner on first is now the tying run. The winning run is at the plate because it's the bottom of the ninth inning. They don't have another pitcher up for him. And Ginn gives up a Neto home run. And now he's the losing pitcher in 2 batters. He never got it out in the ninth inning. Yesterday was one of the most incredible days in sports. Like, not like Olympic incredible or, I'm not comparing it to World Series or anything like that, but just to have those 4 extra events and or 3 extra events and almost a no-hitter is just nuts. Diamondbacks a winner yesterday, 12-2. Not a ton to look at. I mean, sometimes you're going to have clunkers and sometimes you're going to be the clunker. I mean, they just took it to Robbie Ray. 6 pitches, 4 runs, which is an insane stat. But the things that were important to me beyond just, hey, great job offense beating up on Robbie Ray. Zach Gallen, number 1. 6 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. I didn't like when the runs happened. I know that sounds a little picky. Some of the big innings early on, you would like to see Zach go right out there, shut them down. I love that phrase, shut down inning. My offense is hot. I need to get them out 1, 2, 3, or maybe just 1 hit. Limit any damage. Don't let any damage happen. Get out. Now, obviously, every time a pitcher is out there, he's trying to get 3 outs as fast as possible. It's not like he goes, you know what? I don't want to shut down inning. But the reason why the phrase exists is because their starter is on the ropes or he's already out of the game and you're into the bullpen. Hurry up and get the offense right back out there so they can take advantage of the damage that they've already done to the opposing pitching staff. And when you don't do that, now the opposing pitching staff gets to rest a little bit, kind of regroup, talk to the coaching staff, figure out what they did wrong in that inning, and then the longer the inning, that half of the inning lasts, the easier it is for the opposition to regroup. On top of that, you could even let them start a comeback if you don't hurry up and get out of the inning. And Zach Gallen, so I didn't like when the run scored because they were in retaliation right after some of the runs that the D-backs had scored in different parts, but he still has not pitched remotely well enough this year. And that's a good outing. So that was a major positive. Simple hustle things. There were a couple balls hit to Corbin Carroll that he really hustled on, as you expect with him, and got him back in the infield quickly. That kept people, when it was possible, kept people from taking an extra base. Bullpen, 1 inning apiece for Thompson, Garcia, and Loaizaga. None of them gave up a run. All of them gave up a hit. Garcia gave up 2 hits, but no one gave up a run. Marte was stellar. Ketel Marte was stellar. I didn't like him swinging for the fences late in the game with a big lead because to me, he's the type that hurts himself doing that, and that's why I don't like it. But he made tremendous defensive plays and went 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Nothing else you could ask for. Listen to the guys that got 2 hits. Marte, Corbin Carroll 2 for 4, Vargas 2 for 5, and Ryan Waldschmidt went 3 for 3. One of the guys that didn't get 2 hits was Nolan Arenado, and he hit a grand slam. I mean, that's how good the offense was yesterday. Here's Torey Lovello.
It's clear that we were ready to play. I was really very satisfied with the approach, the situation in the bottom of the first inning and the big grand slam by Arenado. And it just, let us exhale in the dugout a little bit after a tough weekend series in Colorado where we won it. But I think, you come off something that emotional. I think we were really excited about that type of a win. We did not let down today, and we just kept going at it. We just kept playing as hard as we could for the entire game. The guys just really did their job in a lot of different ways today. Offensively, defensively, the little things, the base running, all the things that we stand on. It was a good day for us.
One thing I'd like to know about the Gallen performance is, did he go on the attack because they were up 4-0 when he took the mound? Or did he go on the attack because that was the game plan against the Giants? Or a third option, did he go on the attack because he realized he's been way too passive this year? I wish I knew which one of those 3 it was, because I hope it's the third one. If it's not, I hope that it was the first one and he's learned from it. It is easier to attack when you're up 6-0. That's the whole point. Hey, if the guy hits a solo homer on you, as one did, you're still winning 6-1. You're still winning 5-1. You're still winning 4-1. No matter what, whatever inning it was, depending on the lead, if you attack when you've got that commanding of a lead, you force a lot of aggressive swings. And that puts you in charge of the situation. You're in charge of the at-bat when you're getting them to go up there and chase because they know they need some help with the long ball. And you also have a confidence that says, even if you hit the long ball, you've got so far to go to catch up with where I'm at. I'm okay with it. Well, what I want from Zach Gallen is don't do that just because your guys got you a grand slam in the first. Let's not wait to see if we get a grand slam and, okay, I'm going to pitch primarily with my fastball. He was much more aggressive with the fastball, and then that set up the brutal knuckle curve that no one can hit when it's on. But since it moves so much, very few people try to swing at it until they have 2 strikes. So if he's throwing it for a ball, now they can just sit on the other pitches, and that's a great way to hammer him. Or you get the cement mixer, which is the cool term for a breaking ball that really doesn't break, and you can see a big dot from the seams because it's spinning but not moving. And Zach looks so much better. Now, I hate to be a jerk, Zach, but hey, do it again. You've had enough bad starts that before I'm buying a house in your neighborhood, you're doing it again. That's brutally important. One scary thing, not scary, but one bad thing is I think Jeff McCann is a great force in the clubhouse. Very good leader, very cerebral player. He left the game. He came into the game as a sub just to give Nolan Arenado a break and then turned around and hurt his thigh running down to first. And Torey Lovello came in and said this could look like some injured list time. It doesn't look good. Now, that means you're going to replace him. Well, he's a catcher. But you do have 2 catchers. You have ADC, Adrian Del Castillo, who is the backup catcher and primarily left-handed designated hitter. And you have Gabby Moreno, who is, I hate to say it, sometimes injury prone. So I love the question that was asked Tori, do you plan on getting a third catcher? I mean, do you prefer to have the 3 catcher model on your bench? And Tori kind of stared at the guy in an admiration for the question. I was impressed at Tori's reaction that let you know that's a legit question and he doesn't really know the answer to. I kept in all the pauses. Listen to how he stumbles in the beginning because he doesn't want to let out a trade secret.
Good question. We have a couple models we can follow, whether we go with a 3 catcher model or 2. I think Timmy Tawa's versatility would allow us to go with a 2 catcher model, and other players' versatility, Vargas and Fernandez and Barossa. But we're trying to figure that out. I was just walking through some lineups and scenarios with the front office, and then they'll make that decision and figure out what that body looks like and who it is.
This is me being Mr. Negative. I'm calling up a catcher now because I don't want to be totally reliant on Gabby Moreno and ADC right now. I hate to say it, but one of them's going to get hurt. So you're going to have to call somebody up anyway. And then now you're desperate. If you call them up now, at least they're kind of used to it. At least they're, feeling like, okay, I'm learning my role until you can get McCann back. If I'm wrong and I want to be wrong, then you don't call up a catcher in ADC and Gabby Moreno stays healthy all the way until it's time for McCann to come back. That would be the ideal scenario. I just don't think that's living in reality. So if you agree with me, more than likely one of those 2 are going to get hurt and you're going to have to call somebody up. Well, then I would rather have that somebody already here. Now, sometimes it also is the struggle of, are they good enough? Do you have a catcher in the system that's good enough? If you don't, well, then you might not do it even if you're in favor of doing it. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do on this one. All right, coming up next, a lot of good stuff from the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of good news from LaFleur and really interesting situation that's coming up that I need to explain to you. I'll talk about it next. Cardinals football on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Going to be hard to keep up with this list, but from Parker & Sons Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical, we have a reverse osmosis system, a tankless water heater, and 2 air scrubbers that actually remove pollens and germs from the air that we breathe in our home. So what does Parker & Sons do? They only handle the air that we breathe and the water that we drink, and they do a great job. Call 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons.
It's big, it's juicy, it's meaty. Get your burrito at Burrito Express. If you're having a hangover, a bad day, even a good day, still get your burrito at Burrito Express. It will make you feel better.
Hi, I'm Angie with Penny Royal Promotions. We decorate blank apparel, screen printing, embroidery, direct to film. Also, we provide promotional products, offset printing, tents, canopies, banners, business cards, anything you can put a logo on. Okay, Unplugged Army, if you own a business, you have an upcoming event, a charity function, golf tournament, we're the official provider of the Unplugged Army. Ask for Angie. I'm this year's Euchre champion.
Come on, let's go. Let's go. I refuse to be tired. Come on. Come on. Just like you've got to power through, so do I. But I am tired. I am really tired. Luckily, I do have Town Hall Tuesday edited and ready to go. So that'll be coming up here in a little bit, but I want to talk Cardinals with you now because I thought it was a good day for the Cardinals, really good day for the Cardinals. And I say that just because of the way I'm hearing things. One of the major negatives, of course, as you already know, OTAs started yesterday. Jacoby Brissett still not there. And in my opinion, this is so easy. I feel like people are already taking sides, either Cardinals or Jacoby Brissett. And I just don't understand why anybody's taking sides, one side over the other. Why shouldn't you, as a fan, be furious at both of them at the same time? I think you should. Jacoby Brissett, God bless you. You've done more in your career, athletic career, than I did. There are so many people jealous of how long you've been in the league. Great job. But if you ever want to start and be a leader, this is your turn. This is your chance. And you can't be making a dumber decision. I don't care who your agent is. I don't care who told you this is a good idea. Now, if you are thinking about retirement and you're using this as leverage in the thought process of, listen, I'm just going to retire, but if you want to pay me X amount, suddenly I want to make more. I want to make the money. Like you might say, Doug, that's terrible. I don't want a guy that's just coming back for the money. Well, if they're a true professional, if they play the game in a professional manner, well, then I don't mind them making a decision because it's just like you. Are you happy in your house? If you're happy in your house and I offer you a job in Idaho, you're not going to take it. If you're happy in your house, you're happy with your wife, and I offer you a job in Idaho at $100,000 a year, you ain't moving. If I offer you a job in Idaho at $400,000 a year, you might live without your wife. But what's the dollar figure? Everybody's going to have at some point, okay, yeah, I'll go for that. Well, I look at this situation with Jacoby Brissett. I know that he's a true professional, so therefore, his effort's going to be top-notch once he decides to play. So that's a foregone conclusion. So since you don't have to worry about the effort issue, well, then it does come down to money. Is it worth it for him to take the hits? And that's a number that only he can know. So if that's what he's doing, I really don't have a problem with it. But I don't think that's what he's doing. I think he legitimately thinks, okay, I signed a backup contract and now I need starter money. When I look at Jacoby Brissett, I say, okay, you were the one that signed the contract that only has $1.5 million guaranteed. Great reporting by Teo Mackey in the paper. Let it be known that Gardner Minshew received $5 million guaranteed. So he gets paid this year more than Jacoby Brissett does in both guarantees and total money. Brissett gets $4.8 million, but only $1.5 million is guaranteed. Yet the Cardinals could give a lot more money to Gardner Minshew. Plus $510,000 a game bonus. It does make you feel like something fishy's going on here. Why would the Cardinals only have a $1.5 million guaranteed money contract with Jacoby Brissett, but give Gardner Minshew a $5 million guaranteed contract? Like, really think about that. That makes no sense. When all of the players respect Jacoby Brissett as much as they do, why don't the Cardinals? Because as soon as you gave that $5 million contract to, I almost said Jimmer Fredette, to Gardner Minshew, as soon as you did it, you had to know you were pissing off your starting quarterback. You had to know you were making Jacoby Brissett mad, not because you're bringing in competition, but because you tripled the amount of guaranteed money you were giving to that backup quarterback versus what you gave to him. So he's like, well, fine then. If you've got this money, just give it to me. And I stare him down, not first overall. I stare them both down at the same time, but I stare him down for not thinking, wait, I signed the contract, guys. I'm going to come to camp. I'm going to come to OTAs. I'm going to come to mini camp. But let's go here. And if you're the Cardinals, why haven't you gotten this done? Like, what in the world is holding you up? You have so much cap space. And don't tell me, well, we need to keep the cap space for other guys. You need a quarterback. And Jacoby Brissett is the best one on your roster. And he is going to be playing starters minutes. So you should negotiate with him. Quit being cheap all the time. At some point, stand up and say, we're not going to be that anymore. We're going to do what's right so we have a better chance to win. The chances of the Cardinals winning are better if Jacoby Brissett is in practice right now, which again brings up the famous feeling that we all have. I don't believe Michael Bidwill cares about winning. There's no way you can get me to believe he cares about winning when Jacoby Brissett is not at OTAs. New coach, new offense, new offensive weapons to be used, and your quarterback isn't in there. And I'm not even trying to sell you on Jacoby Brissett. I'm not telling you he's the best quarterback in the league in any way, but he's the best quarterback on the Cardinals. So why wouldn't you be getting him in when you've already shown him how much you're willing to pay a backup quarterback, and he's not even your backup quarterback anymore. He's your starting quarterback. I mean, just from that alone, why should your backup quarterback be making more than your starting quarterback? If the report is true that Gardner Minshew makes 5.14 guaranteed. I mean, that's bad news right there. So Michael Wilson, wide receiver, took the high road when asked about Jacoby Brissett. And then the follow-up after Jacoby Brissett, he was asked about his own contract situation. So we'll go with Brissett first. But again, this is Michael Wilson, the receiver, talking about the quarterback that found him immediately once Kyler was benched.
Obviously, we'd love to have Jacoby. I think, words can't describe how I feel about playing with Jacoby. Obviously, what he did, for my career, I'm forever indebted to him. But with that being said, the organization is going to keep going, the train's going to keep going, and I'm not going to hold anything against Jacoby because he's trying to figure out his situation, which I think everyone in the building understands and can relate to that. And so, hopefully we can get Jacoby back whenever that situation, figures itself out. But it's just business as usual.
You're obviously up for an extension yourself. How has that progressed, and is that a priority for you to get that done before the start of the season? Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to touch on that because I want to keep that private between myself and the Cardinals organization with Monty and his team. But truthfully, that whole situation isn't going to dictate, my off season, and that's not something that I want to show up to the building with on my mind and show up how I show up. I don't want that to affect how I show up every single day, because ultimately that stuff is going to take care of itself. What I did last year, I can't change. That's my resume. That's what we're going off of. But as soon as week 1 starts and we're playing against, who's our week 1 game? LA Chargers. Contract stuff, that stuff doesn't matter. What I did doesn't matter. What I did last year doesn't matter. So I need to do what I need to make sure I'm taking care of what I can now, tomorrow, the next day after that. That's going to help me sort of replicate that season and build upon that.
I find that answer fascinating about his contract. Here's why. Since it's the Cardinals, if it was another team, I wouldn't be looking at it like this. But since it's the Cardinals, historically a very cheap organization, historically fighting against giving market value for an extension. Have they done it? Yes, they have. But it seems like when he says, I don't want any of that to affect how I come into this building. I want to keep that stuff private between us. That sounds like a guy that's declaring, but I'm not going to hold out even though the Cardinals aren't doing what they need to do. That's how I hear that. It could be the exact opposite. It could be they're working on it. They're making good progress. He feels great about it, and give both sides a lot of credit. It could be that. But the way he spoke inferred to me that they're in negotiations and it's not going well. And I only say that not because of what he said necessarily, but because it's the Cardinals. It almost always goes this way with the Cardinals. So why wouldn't I make an unsourced assumption? You would agree track history would make me more than likely right. So let's watch that. And I like how he's handling it. Man, that makes me really, really respect Michael Wilson, that he understands, hey, I signed the contract before. I've earned a new one, but I'm not going to sit out and miss out on making the team better. I'm going to make myself better, and then hopefully the contract gets done. Mike LaFleur was asked whether or not he has reached out to Jacoby Brissett. Where does he stand in this offense? And of course, as you can imagine, who is the guy that has the onions to ask the important questions? America's reporter, Teo Mackey.
How are things progressing with Jacoby's contract discussions?
Yeah, same as where we were a few weeks ago.
Does that impact, I guess, what is the impact of not having, one of your top quarterback options here during OTAs?
It's not mandatory, right? And like I've said with Jacoby and all veterans I've ever been around, they've played football. The hardest thing to do in this league is get used to the speed of the game. And even for not just the rookie, but the second year, third year guy, and he's played a lot of football. He's done probably everything that we've ever done schematically. It's just a little bit different verbiage, So if it's the flip stuff that getting used to the game. Like if a rookie's not here or a second year guy's not here, you're like, oh crap, because it takes a minute.
Have you had any contact with him to install the playbook, remotely with him?
We've had contact. I'll keep it at that.
That's interesting. That last part, a lot of people are going to give a lot of attention to. I don't think it's that big of a deal. The reason why I don't think that last part is too big of a deal, because I think Mike LaFleur wants to be very careful to not breach any CBA rules. And there's a lot of teams cheat. And we know from the Terry McDonough case, in which Michael Bidwell was ruled to have violated the rules of the NFL by an arbitrator and owed Terry McDonough money. We know the Cardinals have cheated in the past. At least in this one instance. I don't know of any other. Well, we know two, because they were also issued a, I guess, grievance or whatever you want to call it, but they lost a draft pick to the Eagles in the way they brought in Jonathan Gannon. So just in the last 5 years, we have two high-level examples of cheating. So you it's easy to walk the belief of there's a chance that what the coach is saying is, yeah, we're in constant communication with Jacoby Brissett. We're sending him film. We met with him. He came into the building, blah, blah, blah. He did a bunch of things that were probably in violation of the CBA, or the Cardinals did things that were in violation of the CBA. I can't accuse them of that. I have no proof, but I'm going to tell you what I believe, and I believe that would happen because of their track record. Well, I mean, once you've shown that the rules don't apply to you, why would I suddenly believe, well, they do? Or the Cardinals have a conscience out of nowhere? That doesn't make any sense. Now, it's not like, this is exposing our troops before a war or something here. I'm not going to make it out to be something that it's not. It's just cheating within the game, within a sports context. But it still shows to me a lack of integrity. That's who they've been in the past. So I think what he's saying is he's been in contact with them. He's got the information. We've met multiple times. We've gone over the offense. I feel good. But I could be wrong. It could be the exact opposite, that he says, well, yeah, I've had contact with him. I'm going to leave it there. Meaning he is dug his heels in, and I don't think we're going to pay him. So this is going to go on for a long time. So, yeah, we've been in contact. Doesn't matter, though. Could be that. So if you don't know about your starting quarterback, how's Carson Beck look so far?
I was impressed with him today in terms of just hearing the play calls from him. That's, obviously he's heard me speak. We've talked. He knows what the reads are and all that, but it's the first time he's ever heard that, the mic going into his helmet. So you never know how that's going to be. I might sound muffled. I might sound like I don't know what I'm talking, like whatever, and I thought he did a really good job of hearing me and communicating that kind of stuff. I thought, Hack and Schaub did a great job of just getting all these quarterbacks just ready to go, for practice. Again, it's sometimes OTAs and training camp are actually harder than in season in terms of just the plays because, again, going back to the point, like everything is kind of up. Now, what I tell the guys all the time, we'll never go out on the field and just throw out stuff blind on you. I'm a big believer in recovering stuff because, again, these guys aren't sitting there as coaches and just thinking of a million different things all day. I mean, they got lives outside of this thing. So just giving them that practice preparation in terms of what we're going to do and then, for them to go out there and execute.
He kind of touched on a couple different things there. Number one, it shows you how much college football has changed quarterback prep for the better. First day of OTAs used to be kind of an interesting day because it was one of the first times that a college quarterback, now a newly minted pro rookie, wore a helmet with a speaker in it. So they had to get used to hearing the coach's voice in their head, regurgitate the play, and be ready to go. Because they're hearing the play almost in real time as they try to relay it to their teammates. Well, now in college, the quarterbacks are already used to it. So this isn't that, it's nothing now. May not be, it's the first time he's ever heard LaFleur's voice in his head. But it's not the first time that he's heard a coach in his head telling him the play. So he said that Beck looked really good doing that. The other thing he threw out there is, it's a harder moment than the regular season because, right now everything is up. What he meant by everything is up is you might have, let's say, I'm going to take a guess and say 50 plays in a regular season, maybe more like 60 or 70, but in a regular season NFL football game, you probably have 70 plays that are, quote, up. But you have maybe anywhere between 1,500 plays, somewhere between, I'm going to guess, 1,200 and 1,500 plays that are in the playbook. Yes, there's that many plays in the playbook. Now I'm counting, the same play that's run in two different formations, or I'm counting all of the formations, But when I say that, he is saying we're not going to have every play up. So we're only going to call plays that we've repped in practice, which is not what Bill Belichick does. Not what Tom Brady does, not what Peyton Manning does. They make sure that they have everything drilled into their heads for what is up, but they're also constantly prepared to run plays that aren't up. And LaFleur sounds like he's never going to do that. That's interesting. That makes preparation a little harder. I should say the exact opposite. It actually makes preparation easier, but it can make the game harder because if you believe in certain plays and they're not up, and then you see what the defense is doing, maybe a play that's not up is going to be a good idea. So do you do that, or do you feel like, no, we'll always have a couple beaters in there that can handle any situation? That's a pretty interesting topic right there, of both how it relates to what Carson Beck is doing and then as it relates to getting ready for the season. Last one for Mike LaFleur that I really liked. Josh Weinfuss of ESPN just asked him about installing the offense. Like, what's in right now? Is everything in and now you're building on it? Do you build slower than that? What do you expect to accomplish at the end of OTAs?
It started back when they first got here for phase 1, right? And we spent those 4 days, like we discussed, where we didn't talk about one play. We were just talking about the pre-snap operation, the cadences, the formations, the motions, how it's all tied together. Along with that, you're talking about a lot of the fundamentals of what you're trying to get done. Don't worry about the play. Here's how we hit blocks. Here's how we hit interior blocks with our duo game. Here's how the wide zone looks. Here's how our slides. Here's our terminology. So you spend a lot of time just doing that, and then you try to bucket it up for the guys, just from a pass scheme standpoint. Talk about all your backside progression, stuff that's coming in the quarterback's vision, why those words are what they are. Then you go to the quick game. Then you bucket up into the different varieties of 5-step and 7-step and all that, how the 7-step ties in with the play pass. And then can we sprinkle in a screen here and there, And so with the rules, you don't you get too far ahead of yourself. Well, you didn't even get a chance to go practice that stuff, so we have to be careful with, hey, I don't care about installing a screen in early April if we can't go rep it, until mid-May. So, but for the most part, I'd say we're in.
That mode of teaching works very well if you have a lot of focused guys, because the guys that are really smart have already picked all this up, and you're not even installing things. You're just saying, hey, we're going to work on the blocking schemes with this formation. We're going to work on the terms for this formation. We're going to work on the drop back for this formation. Basically, they're going to do a lot of simple stuff. And if you don't focus on the simple stuff, you're going to screw it up. But if you stay focused, man, is it going to be a lot easier as the playbook actually gets brought out? Because he's saying we're not even teaching plays. We're just using the terminology in a sense like for the skeleton of things. So the basics. When we say this, you're already thinking, okay, that for my position group, that means this. And then I'll learn everything else later, the actual plays later. So they spent a lot of time on the motions. It's interesting to me because it's the counter of the Cliff Kingsbury offense. Cliff Kingsbury does not believe at all in motion. He says he does, but then he hardly ever does it. X, I want you to go to this spot and do something. Here we go. Break. And I like with what LaFleur's saying is we just need to get the foundation before we worry about what plays we're actually going to go with. Speaking of LaFleur, here's another one from Michael Wilson. I always judge just what they say on questions like this. So he was asked, how does he like playing for LaFleur so far? And as you can guess, no player in the history of mankind who wants playing time is ever going to say, you know what, I'm really frustrated with him. I know we haven't played a game yet, but if he doesn't pick it up, then I think we're going to have some problems. Who says that? So it's going to be reasonably flowery. But truthfully, if you don't like the coach, you don't go on forever. You'll say something like, oh man, it's not about the coach. It's about us. It's about the men in this room. We've got to come together. We can't rely on the coaches. They'll say something like that, where they'll talk in circles around the subject matter. But if you really do like the person, respect the person, if you're impressed with the person, you'll go on and on about it. And I think that is the latter for Michael Wilson.
Yeah, it's been great. He's a phenomenal coach, obviously. Great offensive mind. One thing I like about him is he makes, I'm excited every day to come to work. Because he makes learning exciting. He makes the experience fun. He's obviously a details guy, but he's not an over details guy, which is great because he understands football is, sort of controlled chaos and a lot of an uncontrolled environment. And so he gives us enough rules, but then allows sort of natural ability, playmaking ability, and natural athleticism and football wherewithal to kind of take over. But I just could go on for 2-3 minutes just raving about him, but it's been phenomenal. And I think, one thing I'm going to touch on, like I touched on at the beginning of my answer, is just love coming to work every single day with him as a coach. It's just, the coach-player relationship is great with him. And honestly, he's one of the few NFL coaches I've been around. Every time we have a conversation, he always asks about my daughter, my wife, how I'm doing as a person, not just a football player. And so he makes you feel like you're special as a human and not just, an X and an O.
I think it's an amazing statement what he said there at the end. For some people, that matters greatly. I loved my conversations with Wolf I would have about Bill Belichick, because Wolf played for Bill Belichick as a member of the Cleveland Browns. And he used to joke, that Bill Belichick could not motivate a gnat to fly around a fruit bowl because it's like he's not a motivator other than the fact that he'll just cut you. Do your job or I cut you. And he didn't feel like, Bill Belichick didn't feel like I need to get to know your family, I need to get to know your wife, I need to get to know your kids. It doesn't matter. What does me knowing your children have to do with you blocking that guy? Your job on this play is to do X. That's it. You do that. What does that have to do with your kid's measles shot? Nothing. Go do it. Yeah, that was Bill Belichick's mentality. And if you succeeded, he was interested to talk contract with you at the end of the year. If you did not succeed, he was willing to talk to other teams about you to see if you had value before he cuts you. I mean, that's the difference. When Michael Wilson goes into, he talks to me and he cares about the person. He asks about my wife. He asks about my daughter. For some people, like a Wolf, that doesn't really matter much, but you can tell to Michael Wilson that's vital. So I don't know if LaFleur does it to everybody or if LaFleur is so brilliant he understands who needs it. And he's going to those people that need it. Or it might just be genuine. It is who he is. I know I've told you the story before, but it means a lot to me. One of my favorite kids that I ever coached, one time I went to one of her high school games. So this is, 3 years, I would say about 3 years after I was done coaching her, maybe only 2. And I'm walking to her car with her, talking about the game. And then she tells me how much she doesn't love soccer anymore. And that was just depressing to me. And I said, why? And she said, the coach, it's just not fun. And, he gets on people, he does this. And I said, wait a minute. I got on you like I didn't even get on my own kid. And she said, yeah, but I knew you cared. You asked me how I was at school. You asked this. And I said, you never really gave me straight answers. And she goes, yeah, I know. But I like school and I didn't want all the other players on the team to know that. And for me, I knew you cared. So it didn't bother me when you got on me. You can tell that matters to a Michael Wilson. Other players, they don't care. Just make me better. And then let's move on. This is a business. We're in a business relationship. You're the authority figure. And I'm out the door to see that family. Everybody's different. But when you hear a guy gush about his head coach, that's a pretty strong statement right there. That's why I said, there's a lot of good things here other than the disaster of not having Jacoby Brissett in OTAs. And do not listen to anybody that says it's not a big deal. Whenever you have a first-year head coach and a brand new offense and newer weapons, plus Jacoby Brissett it's been 400 years since he came into a situation where you are the starting quarterback. This is his time to lead, and he's choosing not to. And the Cardinals are choosing not to compete by getting him into camp. They're both at fault here. All right, coming up next, let's have some fun. Got Town Hall Tuesday and versus Vegas on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass.
Here is Sue Rigler on starting 100 Mile Brewing Company.
What started 100 Mile Brewing Company is I actually have a degree in microbiology from ASU. Go Devils. And went back to school. I found out that UC San Diego had a brewing program, so I enrolled in that. And with the intention of opening a brewery, I came back to Tempe because it's Sun Devil country. I wanted to open a brewery in Tempe, which fresh, it never gets old is our tagline. And I'm pretty much a stickler about fresh beer. It's got to be fresh. Otherwise, it's not going to be served here.
At Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp, when the husbands have come in, their first thought is, this is just some group dance class like Zumba, and this is going to be no problem. And when we humble them for a 30-minute workout. Typically, they end up signing up because they see that this is just as challenging for them, and they do want to support their wives in their fitness journey. My name is Aaron. I also go by AG Kleino on Twitter. We strive to inspire fitness and change lives every day.
Hear ye! Hear ye! Oh yay! Oh yay! It's time to call a town hall meeting.
It's a Town Hall Tuesday. No more Phoenix Symphony, so we are live to tape, but it is not a situation where Jennifer is coming back from rehearsal or anything like that. When does your season start up again?
We start rehearsing in August. Our first performance is in October.
I'm sorry, it's a different microphone.
Do you need me here? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. If there's a way that you can put your hand on the microphone and be comfortable and then not readjust all the time, that's great.
You're asking a lot of me here. I think I deserve a raise.
You know what? You're right. I'm going to double your salary.
Double my zero?
Yes.
Thank you. You're so giving.
Well, I am the president of the company.
In name only. Not what the paper says.
If you're already arguing about your salary, then we can proceed.
If I'm ready or if I'm done?
If you're done. I don't know when you're done.
All right, here we go. Doug, how are you? You sound great. Brian Prowgo. That's a name from the past.
This is incredible. Brian Prowgo is a man that came on to the station. I can't remember if I hired him or if he was hired for an FM position and helped me out on AM. But when I say the station, I mean my first commercial radio station in Athens, Ohio. And then I don't know when it was, but I would say about 12 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, he got a job in Tucson. And I've never had a chance to get down there. And I admit I went down there for 2 football games and forgot to say, hey, I'm coming down to Tucson if you want to try to get a beer. So I didn't even know he's a somewhat member of the Unplugged Army. Really appreciate him reaching out. And then he said to me in an email, I asked him, hey, are you still in Tucson? And he said, no, he's moved to Benson, which I admit is a town I've never heard of, which is further east. And he said he was doing a sports broadcast at Tempe Diablo. And I didn't know. So I don't know if he's hooked up, like if he was doing a high school baseball game or something like that. But it was really cool to hear from him. And you can't imagine, Unplugged Army, how neat it is to hear from someone that you worked with 30 years ago. And he was, what I remember about him is 3 things. Hardworking guy, Yankees fan, because he's originally from New York, yet knew just as much about, at the time, my beloved Mets before I became a Diamondbacks fan. And then number 3, I think he's divorced now, so I hope I can get away with this. And if he's not, Brian, make sure your old wife or your current wife is not listening. His wife was weird. And I will never forget walking in on him and her and this strange woman. And she was the news director at the radio station. And they were doing a tarot reading on the floor of the radio station, just sitting on the floor, like normal business hours. Like any business person could have walked in and they would have been doing this reading. And like this woman, not his wife, but the other woman, like was so into it. She had like these, I guess what they call real cards, and had all of these crazy symbols and faces on them. And it was the strangest thing in the world. And I didn't have the power to do it, but I almost fired them both on the spot.
Maybe she was a guest on their show.
Who's they? There? What? They didn't do a show like the Prowgos or something.
No, you said his wife at the time was a FM person, a news person.
No. The news person was the other woman, and she was, and like Brian's wife would like help out as a receptionist sometimes, and those two were sitting on the floor in that little bitty hallway in front of the bathroom and the drinking fountain.
Oh, not in a studio.
Yeah, not in the studio. They're just out in the middle of the hallway.
Oh.
And by the way, that station was so small, there was only one hallway and it didn't go anywhere. So, I mean, it was just crazy. And like, you're the news director, like the other woman is the news director, like go do news stuff. And she's doing tarot readings.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was.
That must have been when we were dating before we were married.
And Brian, if you're still married to that woman, then, you know, God bless you. And I hope she's doing well with, you know,
life.
The fortune that she discovered that you were her man for this long. But she already knew that you were going to, I mean, if she's doing the tarot reading, she already knew that you were going to end up in Benson and be listening to me one day and hearing me say how weird it was that she was reading tarot cards. So since she already knew all this is coming, then she's not going to be shocked or offended by it.
Are you ready to move on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
She said it's okay.
Oh, okay. Doug, so glad that you made the statement about the way Torra Lovello handled Juan Murillo in yesterday's game. I was yelling the same thing about having a pitcher only throw 4 pitches and replacing him made no sense to me. Just a small thing, and it's been a while since you did it, but please don't ask Siri questions while doing the show. I listen on speaker most of the time, which causes my Siri to answer and forces me to skip past it. Enjoy listening to the show. Got through the whole Randy Bennett presser, but only because my phone was not right by me. Eric in Virginia.
Eric in Virginia. Good to hear from you. I will not call for your Siri, so you're fine. There have been multiple times where I've said something close to that word and Siri has answered on the podcast. And it scares the crap out of me every time she does because it, just so you know, it's Bluetoothed into the podcast. That's how I download sound. It actually is kind of funny. You can't really download it on the laptop that I do the show on. I can't download laptop to laptop. So I have to go iPad to laptop. So I'm actually doing it in real time. Like, just like you watch a YouTube video, I'm recording the sound through my board and Bluetooth into my laptop. So because of that, I'm in the same situation that if I say Siri, you hear it through the Bluetooth, but I will stop asking questions that I need answered. But I cannot apologize for times that I don't expect her to talk and it just happens.
Sometimes she just thinks you're calling her when...
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Hey,
Doug.
Let me go to the Juan Murillo thing.
Oh,
actually.
Okay.
Yeah, for those of you that missed either the game Sunday or yesterday's show, I just terribly disagree with something that Torra Lovello did when Juan Murillo came in and pitched the 7th inning and got 3 outs on 4 pitches and then he took him out of the game. I do understand that Brandon Pfaadt needs the work, and I want to be clear. If it would have been other locations, I would have said good move. I would have understood it. Just not at Coors Field. And not against like a team like the Dodgers, teams that are exceptionally better than you. Don't screw with success. Let it keep going. I thought that was really bad managing on Torra Lovello's part. And I probably wouldn't have said anything, Eric, if it wasn't for his quote, "We don't take anything for granted here." Because well, obviously you do, because you took Juan Murillo out. You took it for granted that you've got a 6-run lead. Terrible mistake, in my opinion.
All right, this one comes from @JeanLily14. Hey, Doug, as promised, as we're getting closer to the date, I'm asking about your availability to attend the DBACKS game on Sunday, June 7th. If you want to check out the seats, they're located in section 116, row 23, seats 17 and 18. Headed to Slice House today for lunch.
That's outstanding. So if June 7th is a Sunday, that would mean June 1st is a Monday.
Yes.
Okay. Happy anniversary, just in case I forget.
You won't, because we'll be recording Town Hall Tuesday.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
If I remember.
On a Monday night.
That it's a Monday.
Yeah, very good point. I forgot about that. Let's put it like this. I don't know. So I'm going to decline the chance to go with Eugene so you could do something else with the ticket. However, I still might be there. I'll tell you what, I'll keep your email so I have your seat location. And if I can make it, I'll show up with my credential and sit somewhere close to you and have a beer with you, something like that. Because I really would like to go, but Sundays are all determined by how much work did I get done on Friday and Saturday of that weekend. So if I get a lot done, then I can easily go to the game. But if I'm watching Friday and Saturday sports all day Sunday, then I won't have time to be able to go in preparation to do the podcast. But I will really try because I would enjoy that.
Congrats on your Justin Thomas pick. I'm not a huge fan of golf, but I don't mind the way you cover it because I learn about the person. I really don't care about a breakdown of their shot on a specific hole. What was your take on Rory telling the fan to shut the F up just because the fan yelled USA, USA at him? I thought it was cowardly of Rory to have the fan ejected. Mark B.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that one. The Justin Thomas pick is probably the best pick I've ever had, being at plus 390. That was pretty awesome. I love that you asked that question because there's a lot of people that are ripping Rory for doing that and having the fan ejected. I am not one of them because when it happened, I kind of assumed I knew what happened, and I've read some other accounts and I was right. Let me see if this changes your opinion, because I understand what you're saying. Number one, it's not Ryder Cup. At Ryder Cup, I think there's an element of mocking the other team because it's another team. Now, the way some American fans at Bethpage Black behaved was an embarrassment to our country. I'm still mad about that. They were making comments about Rory's wife. Can we leave people that aren't competing off the competitive balance? Now, if you want to know what happened in this sense, if you didn't see it, Rory made back-to-back really poor shots. And when he made one of the bad shots, they chanted USA, USA. So they're doing it mocking him that you failed and we're cheering for our country. This isn't cheering for the country. You're cheering against Rory when he's not trying to represent all of Northern Ireland or the European Ryder Cup team. He's just a golfer. And we don't, in the game of golf, it's the sport of gentlemen. Now we say that whether a woman is playing or not, it's just rude. I mean, there's no reason to get in somebody's head. Let them play. If they fail, they fail. And that there was no point in that. So I still don't like it. But if it was just one hole, okay. But I guarantee you, and other people have said this, these guys were following Rory. It was two guys that had yelled at him on 3 and yelled at him on 4, and you can go back and hear them in different microphones on various holes throughout the round. And finally, it was just enough. And nobody likes that in the game of golf. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. And if I spent the money to go to that high caliber of a tournament, I want to see the best play great. I don't want someone like Rory to struggle because you're yelling at him. That to me is no joy for me. I root for every American to win, but I root for great golf. I'm here to see the greatest golfers in the game earn a major. That's what I want to see, and people like that ruin it. That's not being a great fan. That's just dumb. And the other thing is, this is one of the areas where I've always agreed with Wolf, even though I kind of changed him a little bit. He always said, sometimes someone deserves a punch in the mouth. And I would always tell him, you're right, but that doesn't mean you need to be the one to give it, you know? So I still say these guys deserve getting punched in the face. It's just wrong for any of us to do it. Now that I've cleared that up, look at it from this condition. If this wasn't a major golf tournament, and these guys are yelling at Rory, are they really tough enough if it wasn't for the protection they would get from security if somebody came over and punched them in the face? You know, somehow people feel like they're immune at a sporting event. I paid my money. I can yell anything I want. No, you can't. I'm a dad, and I want to know that I can bring my children to a game and not have to deal with you. You're not entertaining, and there's very few players you're really getting in their head. It's just, you're not a fun person. People that sit there and yell obscenities at the other team, you're not a fun person. There you go. So my opinion on him is no, I don't think it was him being soft in any way. I think he had enough, and I just feel like, why wasn't there anybody else in the crowd to stand up to these guys a long time before that?
On the PGA Championship, the point that Rory and Scotty were making is, because of the hole placements, there were very few risk to reward opportunities for players, especially those who excel at ball striking, to knock the ball closer to the hole than the average player. So, what you saw on many holes throughout the tournament were a lot of players' shots funneling into the same spots. You could miss by 3 feet or 30 feet and generally be in the same area for your next putter chip. That puts less emphasis on the skills, tee to green, and turned it into more of a putting and short game contest. Since most of the places where shots were funneling to were places with very low make percentages, that meant it was more chance than skill that a professional made a particular putt. Luck tends to even out over the field, and that is why you had so much bunching throughout the tournament. On Sunday, Aaron Rai kept the ball in the short grass to eliminate big numbers and hold 182 feet of putts. That was the reason he pulled away. Your Ann Finally story last week about the lady with homemade wine on the sidelines of the youth soccer game had me wondering, did they sell beer at your youth sporting events in Ohio? Beer sales are a staple at youth sporting events in St. Louis, with the concession stand always having a couple of taps of Anheuser-Busch products available. I don't recall there being any more or less parent altercations than I saw here where the sidelines were dry. General Mike.
There's a lot here. Number one, I hate your opinion about the PGA Championship. The reason why I say that is because I don't know the game as well as you do, and you just ruined it for me. If you didn't listen to yesterday's show, I loved that aspect of the PGA that there was so much bunching. And I didn't care that the players were whining because, like, oh, the flag is too close to the edge of the green. It's too hard to make shots. And I'm like, suck it up. You're supposed to be a professional. Now that someone that's more knowledgeable than me has explained it, you ruined the joy that I was having because I realized you're right. And it did rob us from the great shots. If you didn't understand what General Mike was saying, is he said the risk to reward, if you just miss it a little bit, you've immediately brought bogey and double bogey into play. And if you just hit it into a general area, it'll all collect in a general area. So then there's no reason to risk it. And now everybody's in the same general area. And then you're fighting over 2 shots. Do you get a birdie or a par? And that's it. And now everybody's very close together. And I understand that now. And I realize not only, here's why I really don't like it, General Mike. You made me disagree with myself. I now disagree with my opinion from yesterday now that I'm more informed, and I don't like that feeling. So very well said. Thank you.
How often does that happen?
This is a first.
Okay.
So it's not entertaining for me. Secondly, I have never heard of that in my life. I think it's hilarious. It's like, good luck, St. Louis. Now, maybe that's why St. Louis has become such a hellhole in the last 20 years, but I never have heard of this in my life. I've never seen a youth sporting event with beer sales going on. Ever, ever, ever.
You didn't play or coach youth sports in St. Louis.
I know. But I'm not saying, I totally get it, but he's sounding surprised that, wait, didn't that happen in Ohio? No. Like, it wasn't in Ohio. It wasn't here. It wasn't in Alabama. I don't even think they sold beer at my adult softball games. That you would go to my games in Alabama. I know they had a concession stand, but I don't think they had drinks. Now, granted, it's Alabama. It's the Bible Belt, and there's plenty of places that don't have alcohol. Anyway.
Have you considered replacing your Stupid People segment with Funny Sports Stories? Dustin in Pebble Creek. He included a link on X to a minor league game that had the baseball actually get stuck in the ground and couldn't be pulled up, causing an inside the park home run.
So I did watch the clip. What's funny is I don't know what the rule is if the ball would have been stuck on its own. To me, I saw the outfielder slide and kind of land on the ball, and it was his body that embedded the ball into the ground. And therefore, that is not anything other than it's still a live ball. But if the ground is so bad that maybe on the fly it just plugs, I'm assuming that that's just like when the ball plugs into the wall or into the ivy and you can declare it unplayable, and then it's a ground rule double. As far as the actual replacing, here's the thing, Dustin, it's a wonderful idea. I think you mean "and finally" as my.
That's how I took it too.
And honestly, I never have had a title for that. It's now called "and finally" because one day Jeff Weir Production said, "What are you doing for "and finally" today?" And I said, "What is "and finally"? And I didn't know what that meant. And he goes, your segment when you goof off. And I said, when am I not goofing off? I don't understand. He goes, at the end of the 4-minute offense, "and finally." And I go, oh, I've never called the segment "and finally." And now that's exactly what I call it ever since Jeff Weir Production did that. So I think look
other people call it that too, because other people have written.
I think everybody's done it ever since Jeff Weir Production called it that. I have never looked for anything other than anything that entertains me. So I would more than be happy to do Stupid Sports Stories, but I don't want it to be video based. So even though the play you sent me was funny, I don't think it's funny for me describing. And a guy slides and he accidentally sits on the ball and it's stuck in the ground, because then that doesn't translate well to an audio podcast. Listen, anybody out there, if you find stories that you think are entertaining, sports related or not, feel free to send them. I don't want to admit this because it's really bad broadcasting on my part, but I can spend upwards of 25 to 30 minutes finding the "and finally" story. And if you think about it, it's a 2-minute segment that I'm spending 30 minutes on. That's really stupid and probably why so often I'm getting the podcast up late. But I think that's hilarious. I just think those stories are really funny. And I don't want to have a once a week collection of them. I want 4-minute offense to stand on its own. And I have always said this. I don't know why I haven't done a better job that I don't have 20,000, 30,000 people every morning listening to just the 4-minute offense. Because I think the 4-minute offense is an unbelievable staple of the day to listen to, get your Phoenix sports, get your national sports, and then laugh. And that's my goal with that every day.
Email your funny sports stories to Doug at DougFranzUnplugged.com. Hi, Doug.
Hi.
In regards to the DBACKS, I applaud what they did with Alec Thomas. It showed leadership and a winning mentality, but I'm confused why they continue to keep their batting coach. Watching players swing at first pitches after the opposing pitcher just walked the previous batter on 4 pitches, unbalanced on their swings, etc. What is your opinion on this issue? Hope to see you soon. Fireman Dave.
Fireman Dave, it's funny. When you wrote that probably earlier or probably in the middle of last week, the offense looked terrible. Now I'm reading this the day after a 12-2 win. So it's kind of funny. And they scored quite a few runs in Colorado, of course. My opinion on the hitting coaches is more who's accountable to who. If the hitting coach is telling Ketel Marte, don't do that, and Ketel Marte is doing that, then why would I blame the hitting coach? Now, there are times you need to change hitting coaches because just the message isn't getting through. Like there's a way a different coach might present the same information and it clicks with somebody. But I would stare down Torey Lovello and say, are you holding people accountable if they're not listening to your coaches? That would be number one. And honestly, even when you have a lot of sources, it doesn't always mean they're going to open up. And you have to be careful when sources do, because sometimes they do it because they have an agenda. There might be somebody that, I'm going to make up a ridiculous scenario, okay? Let's say there's a player who thinks his wife is cheating on him with somebody on the team. And I don't know that. And I have a relationship with that guy, and he's now coming up to me telling me negative stories about the guy he's accusing. But he doesn't tell me that story. He just tells me bad things that guy does. What if this guy, the guy that's ratting out his teammate, what if that guy has told me story after story after story about so many things that's going on in that clubhouse and he's been right every time? He's going to build up a relationship with me that it's very easy to do lazy journalism and go with that story because he's been right all these other times. And now he's full of crap because he's mad at this guy. That happens. And it's really hard to stay calm when you hear one of these stories and then start checking it out with other people. I heard a whole bunch of negative stories last year about Sam Levitt. And every time I asked a coach, they all to a man said, that's not true. No matter what I asked, they said, that's not true. That's not true. Now, did the coaches have an agenda to keep the drama down? Maybe. Were the stories partially true and they didn't tell me? I don't know. All I know is they told me that's not true. And that's why you didn't hear me talk much negative about Sam Levitt when a lot of other people were talking negative about Sam Levitt. So you got to have to be careful of the source. Nobody has come to me and said the hitting coaches are the problem. So all I can do is look at the stats. And the stats say this is a below average offense so far this season. However, they've had multiple years in a row where they've been a pretty good offense. So I'm not in favor of firing the coaches, but I do think it's fair to give them a lot of scrutiny this year because that there have been way too many bad approaches and way too many bad games. But I've got more digging to do to find out why.
Hey, Doug, I found your podcast.
I didn't know I lost it.
I used to live in, obviously he did.
Okay.
I used to live in Phoenix, but now I live in Charlotte. I wondered what happened to you. I used to listen to Doug and Wolf. I have to admit, I didn't like you then, but listened because there was nothing else. Now that I started listening, I really appreciate what you're doing. Did you getting fired change you? Because you were almost unlistenable before. Jeffrey V.
Wow. Jeffrey B. That's you know how to make an impression.
Nothing like build you up, build you down, chop you out at the knees.
Let's become great friends.
Although he is complimenting you, so that is nice.
Well, it depends on how you look at your question. I mean, I don't think you can go through what I did and not change. But I don't really think I changed as a broadcaster, which is how you would know me. I changed as a person. I've actually gone through multiple changes in a sense going through this. Here's what I mean. Wolf is a very, and as I'm telling you this, I consider Wolf a very dear friend. Wolf is a very, very large personality. And he has a very strong will about him. So when I give opinions, he wants to win the argument or win the disagreement. I fully admit there is no disagreement in my life I've ever been in that I didn't want to win. And I think a lot of times I've kind of thought about this through some of our arguments. I respect Wolf and I wanted him to respect me. And I never really felt like I got there. And so I would keep trying to argue new points all the time, and I would get more and more frustrated. And it was years later I realized that that's the dynamic that made the show very good, even though I didn't really like that aspect of the dynamic. And Wolf said something to me. He said a lot of things to me one time, and I want to be careful because some of them are in confidence. But one of them that meant the most to me was him talking about how often I was right, and he didn't realize it. And it was more about just kind of stuff where he's the player and he just listens to the coach and does what the coach says. Whether that be sports arguments we got into about players that needed to be fired or coaches that needed to be fired, or whether it be station things we would get into of the problems with this guy, the problems with this guy, because Wolf, to his credit, is a keep my head down, do my job, go home kind of guy. I am more of a dreamer. I am more of one, do you see all that we can do? And unfortunately for me, and unfortunately for other people, I see all the hurdles to those dreams. And then I get annoyed by the hurdles. And if the hurdles are human hurdles, I want that person out or I want that person to change. Now, if that person wants to join in and be part of the solution, you can change on a dime and I'm going to root for you. If you don't change, I don't root against you. I don't think you're evil, but I just want you out of the way. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get you out of the way. And I actually don't mean that in a backstabbing way. I mean that more in a, I'm going to ignore you. I'm going to, you're just not going to be part of the team I'm building. Now, the problem is I never had the authority to kick people out of the team. So that was frustration. And when I would get frustrated, Wolf would get frustrated that I was frustrated. And then there would be a back and forth. Since we had that wonderful talk and I felt so vindicated because I care about him. It wasn't like I have an ego that was bruised by him. It was more of I respect you. Why don't you respect me in this way? He respected me very much as a man and a husband and a father. And he would make me very, how do I want to say this? Very emotional. He used to often credit me making him a better father. And that would make me very, very emotional because I didn't want him to know that. But Wolf is a very good man. And sometimes it didn't always manifest itself with his first 4 children. And he was going through so many difficulties with his ex-wife that I don't know all about. And I never really asked him. And he keeps that close to the vest. So I'm keeping it close to the vest other than just saying, obviously they got a divorce, so things weren't great. But he was such a good man and is such a good man that for him to say that about me just meant the world to me. So that's how he respected me. But it took him a long time to kind of respect a media member because I think he had always a strange relationship with the media. And he's always been weird that way because his relationship with Jude LaCava and Todd Walsh and some other people in the local media, Bruce Cooper, very, very strong, very strong. And yet he had a generic view of the media that he hated. And I think a lot of it had to do with Cleveland because the Cleveland media was hell-bent on getting rid of Bill Belichick. And Bill Belichick has always been terrible with the media and a great coach. And so here's Wolf on the inside seeing what a great coach he is. Seeing Bill Belichick say, we have to do this to win, don't do this, don't do this. And then guys would go out on the field and do exactly what Bill said not to do. And yet they didn't have the players yet to be able to handle what Bill was teaching. And then the media would get mad at Bill for it. So I think he really built up his media frustrations in his time with the Browns. And then that built into everybody in the media that thinks they know you don't know. And then as he grew, he knew that I was, right more and more. So when you say you didn't like me then, I can kind of understand why. because I might have sounded like I was whining. And the truth was, I knew I was right, and I didn't always successfully stick to my point and just say, and just let the truth set me free as much as seeking Wolf's approval. And so on the one hand, that's really stupid as a person to seek another human's approval, but it did make for dynamic radio. And I think a lot of people in the city, and I don't mind me saying this now, and this might be totally arrogant, but I think I know good radio. I think that's why a lot of people feel differently about the Doug and Wolf show now, that they listen to alternatives and it's not compelling. It's not deep knowing conversation from an experienced broadcaster. And so I have not changed in that sense. It's just I don't have somebody kind of telling me I'm wrong all the time. Except for me. I tried to beat you to it. So now as a person, how have I changed? I went through a whole lot of changes in the sense of I used to be the most confident person I've ever met. And through this, I do not have even remotely the same amount of confidence that I used to. And I don't think I'm ever getting that back. I would need to see the fruits of this labor pay off to where my dreams are, because everything I've ever done in life, it was either working towards a dream, or it might have been the second category where it wasn't, and I was too blind to see it because I still believed in the dream. And now I admit, after 5 years of this, I don't understand why this hasn't grown bigger, but I don't know enough to make it. And I don't have time to learn it in order to keep the product as high as I want it to be kept. It's a little bit too much information, but that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm not going to give up. So that's the thing. I don't see the top of the mountain. Like, I don't even know where the mountain is. Like, that's the one problem here. You think you're climbing the mountain? I don't even know if I'm on the mountain. I have no idea, but I'm not going to stop. I've never quit in my life. I'm hoping to take a little time off over Memorial Weekend and then come back and really attack video. And I think that's the next step. And once I learn that, maybe that's what unlocks the key.
General Stavo tweeted Teo Mackey and said, "When you coming on the show with my guy at Unplugged Doug? Hashtag Unplugged Army."
I really think that's all my fault. I texted Teo. He acted excited to come on the podcast around the combine, but said he's leaving immediately from Indianapolis to go on vacation because he hadn't had a break off football. And I said, great. And I can't remember whether I said, I'll reach out to you in a week or two, or if I said, reach out to me when you're back. I think I said, I'll reach out to you because he told me when the vacation was over. And I don't think I ever did. And I think what would be greatly appropriate is to have him on going into mandatory minicamp, because after minicamp, everyone associated with football runs to the hills because they have a 5-week period where they don't have anything to do. And it's the only moment in a football season where you really don't have anything. When I say season, I mean from the middle of probably the last week of July until the last week of June. And yes, I meant that the opposite way. For those 47 weeks, there's something to report on. And that's the only time where really nothing is happening. So I don't want to ask him after the fact, but I think it would be good to ask him before and come in on that window to kind of preview mandatory minicamp, because the big question is whether or not Jacoby Brissett will be there. And if he's there, will he participate? Because you might not know this, you get fined if you're not at mandatory minicamp. All these events now are voluntary. So he can show up or not. There's no fine. There's no nothing. There's a story, but there's no fine or anything. However, some players show up, but then refuse to actually practice, acting like, oh, I've got this calf problem. Well, what's the problem? I don't know.
So they just stand there?
Yes, they just stand there. Yes.
That sounds like a big waste of time.
Yeah. But then they're at least in the meetings.
Oh, okay.
But still, they don't take the practice field.
Yeah.
And it's all because I'm having a hold in. Because if they hold out, then they get fined. And it's cheese ball. And I only think losers do it. You signed your name to a contract. You said that was good enough. If you didn't like it, you could have put incentive clauses into your contract that said, for every game I play, I get this much money. That way it covers your bases if you are a starter. You didn't do that. He wants to be paid like a starter. Okay. Well, then why didn't you write that into your contract? And you didn't. So suck it up. At the same time, I think the Cardinals should say, you know what? We're a better team if this guy's here. We've been a cheap organization every step of the way. How about we actually break that mode and do what's best for the team and not our bottom line? So a lot of people say, who's at fault? It's not mutually exclusive. Both sides are showing they're more important than winning, in my opinion.
All right, last one comes from Discord Brian.
Discord Brian, thanks for all you do, by the way. That's it. Thanks. Before we even get rolling.
Okay. Spinoff podcast, The Drive with that Unplugged Doug and at AZ Bobby Matt. Great conversation. Hashtag Unplugged Army.
The drive isn't bad. That would be entertaining. I can't wait to try to pull that off with 12 News. I don't know when they're interested in doing it. Don't tell Cam Cox I said this. He loves every idea I have and then forgets. So then it's kind of cool because it's kind of like a goldfish when they swim around. Oh, look, there's a castle. Because they have a 3-second attention span and then they forget and then it's like re-exciting again. So I like that about Cam because he gets excited about all my ideas, even if it's the same idea 3 times. So with that, hopefully we can pull that off and do the drive on 12 News. And in honor of, who wrote that? I forgot.
Discord Brian.
Discord Brian, in honor of that, if we do call it the drive, I'll make sure that you get a beer out of it.
Happy Town Hall Tuesday.
Happy Town Hall Tuesday.
It's time for an overtime goal from a wonderful day. Oh, man. Canadiens have killed me in this series. I picked Buffalo 3 times. I think I either picked Buffalo 3 times and I went 0-3, or I picked Buffalo 4 times and I went 1-3. I can't remember. But we took the Sabres on the money line, and they were able to tie it up 2-2 and then couldn't get it done. Man, they missed a lot of chances in the second and third. Montreal winner 3-2. We're a loser. And then we get that Tampa Bay Baltimore game pretty easy. We said the Rays would cover the 1.5, and the Rays won 16-6. So we just go 1-1 on the day and could have been a lot better. Pretty frustrating that wasn't a 2-0 day. So we're going with 3 games today to hopefully bounce back a little bit here. I like Boston on the money line against the Royals. I like the Red Sox in that pitching matchup. I like the Reds on the money line against Philly. The Reds are the underdog here, and yet I'm going to go so far as taking the Reds on the money line because I think the pitching matchup favors Cincinnati, and it's in Philly, so you won't have to worry about the bandbox issues of Cincinnati. And then I really like the Rays over the Orioles as Baltimore got beat up yesterday by Tampa Bay. And God bless Kyle Bradish, everybody in Peoria, but he's struggling, and I think the Rays will take advantage. So 3 money line bets, 1 dog on the money line, Reds over Philly, and Boston over Kansas City, and the Rays over Baltimore. Feeling pretty good about that. Feeling really good about that, to be quite honest. Sound credits today. Torey Lavello came straight from the television. I got that off of Diamondbacks TV, so thanks everybody there for letting me borrow it. And free plug for them. Try to stream under $50 for the rest of the year. And then I got the Mike LaFleur and the Michael Wilson from the YouTube page of the Arizona Cardinals. You can also go to azcardinals.com and they click on Press Pass at the top and they put all of their press conferences up there. So if you're a hardcore fan, you'll be able to watch it. That does it for today's version as I flame out on Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. I am a mess right now. I am a mental midget with it being 7 in the morning. We should do a science project on how little brainwaves I have going on right now. And also my butt hurts. It's just sitting on this. This is a great chair. I have a beautiful office chair that's very comfortable normally. But man, I've been sitting on it for far too long, 10 hours or so. I'm tired, I'm tired right now. Let me give some free plugs, and you can help me with these plugs by just supporting these sponsors, because without them, there is no Doug Franz Unplugged. Why are we presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass? Because it's the best golf course in the city when you compare the course itself, the money, and the people. If you go there, you'll be blown away by how great the people are. It matters. Sweet Lou, the general manager, used to wash carts. He came up from the lowest job there and earned his way up to general manager. And because of that, everybody has the attitude, well, wait a minute, if I treat everybody the right way, maybe that'll happen to me. And they carry that forward. And you can golf there for only $300 a year at incredibly reduced rates compared to everybody else. That's Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Jump on it at whirlwindgolf.com. Bell's Nashville Kitchen is the original sponsor of Doug Franz Unplugged. They're located in Old Town, just off of Scottsdale Road on Main Street, home of the greatest chicken sandwich in the history of the planet. That is the Nashville Hot Chicken Sandwich. I actually like to be a little rebellious. I get the Cajun shrimp pasta or the iceberg wedge, the Nashville Hot Chicken iceberg wedge, where they put tenders on it, and that is delicious. Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. If you're in the market for a new car, truck, or SUV, email me, Doug at DougFranzUnplugged.com. I can set you up with a friends and family rate that I think you'll be thrilled with, and I'll buy you lunch at either 100 Mile Brewing Company or Trophy. 100 Mile Brewing Company is in Tempe, just at the corner. It's like a weird corner of rural Scottsdale and the 202. So you got to get to that corner, and then as you're headed southbound from that corner, you make a hard right. The split second you get under the overpass. And once you do that, you'll go into that old Denny's and Macayos, go past the hotel, and there is 100 Mile Brewing Company, big white building. Parker & Sons, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical, 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons. Do not forget about them ever. It's hot. It's getting hotter this weekend. If there's anything wrong with your air conditioning, call Parker & Sons. And the Unplugged Army, I'm telling you, don't make that mistake of calling somebody else. And plumbing, boom. Electrical, boom. If you want to call for your heater now, go ahead, knock yourself out. I'm sure they'll give you a deal on that. Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp, inspiring fitness and changing lives every day. That is a beautiful place for hard cardio, but you can make it for yourself. So the coaches will coach you through it. And if something's a little too hard for you, just slow down. But the point is to go. The point is to go. And if you haven't done it, they've been advertising with us long enough. It's time to try to change your life and figure out, okay, how am I going to get myself to Goodyear Fit Body Boot Camp? We learned our lesson from Dr. Fred. Get there, change your life. Penny Royal Promotions, they can slap a logo on anything. So whether you're just wanting to have fun with a little family t-shirt for a family reunion, or whether you want an entirely new marketed brand for your company, they can help you with logos, they can help design it, they can help with layout, or you can do everything yourself and just send it to them. They are as hands-on as you want them to be. Wendy's, home of the new and improved chicken sandwich, the best fast food sandwich there is. Go for the Biggie Bite, Biggie Bag, Biggie Bundle as well. And Slice House with great caprese and wings. I haven't had the cannolis yet, but that Motorhead pizza, oh my gosh, is that delicious. And it's by Tony Gemignani. Good night, Al. I'm going to bed.
Doug, thank you so much. My best to your listeners, and keep up the work on Doug Franz Unplugged.